I've got a 2006 Ford Crown Victoria Police Interceptor. I've got a 2011 Chevy Caprice PPV. Both cars are former police cars here in the state of Delaware. Both cars have civilian counterparts but have been re-engineered for police work. And both cars had to perform the same job. But clearly Ford and Chevy went about it in two different ways. In this video, we're going to compare these two cars. We're going to look at the pros and cons. We're going to look at the spec sheet. We're going to get behind the wheel and get a driving experience. And we're going to see if we can settle once and for all which is the better car. Alright, so let's start with the Crown Vic. This is a large car. It's a full-size car. It's 212 inches long, and to put that in perspective, a Ford Expedition is 2 inches shorter than this Vic. Also, these Vics are wide. They're 78 inches wide, which is 2 inches more narrow than Expedition. And in terms of weight, for being such a large car, it's fairly light. It's 4,127 pounds. Now, this generation of Crown Vic was made between 1998 through 2011. Ford made nearly 1 million of these cars. And cosmetically, they're all pretty much the same. There's some minor details like the grille and the hubcaps and the antenna. Also, every single one of those 1 million cars, they all had the same engine. The same 4.6 liter 2-valve V8. High watermark on horsepower occurred in 2004 when the Police Interceptor came out with 250 horsepower. And that 250 rating continued on through 2011 to the end of the run. Also, all 1 million of those cars, they all got the same transmission as well, a 4-speed automatic. Also, one of the differentiators between the Police Interceptor and the civilian model is some of the details like the black grille, the steel wheels, the black mirrors, and the sail panel, and all that was done to cut cost. And the MSRP on this car in 2006, when this was new, $24,700. Now, inside the Vic, it's pretty basic. It really is. In a previous video I made, I once called it frippery. And it's true. It's very basic, very simple, very Spartan, very easy to clean and wipe down. It's meant to last long. The seats are flat and low and wide. There's no climate control. There's the tried and true dials and buttons and switches. There is a basic radio. Again, just plastic, rubber floor mats on the floor. Nothing really soft touch. Very simple and basic, long lasting and durable. And the back seat, pretty much the same thing. A simple seat, no center armrest, obviously, to hide things in. No hidden compartments. No door pockets. Again, plastic doors, rubber floor mats. Very simple, easy to care for, easy to wipe down, and long lasting too. All right, let's go bring the Caprice in and get a closer look. All right, Caprice time. These cars were made in Australia, imported into the United States between 2011 and 2017, where nearly 16,000 of these cars were brought in. They were only sold to law enforcement, never to the general public. The ordering departments could choose between two different models of Caprice, a 9C1 model, which is spec'd much like a Crown Vic Police Interceptor with the vinyl floors and the dog dish hubcaps and some other changes to the interior, or it could spec the 9C3 model, which this car is. It has the carpeting, the center armrest, the center console, and some other nice things in there as well. You could also choose between two different engines, a 3.6 liter V6 direct injection, made 300 horsepower, or the engine this car has, a 6 liter V8, 355 horsepower, and flex fuel as well. Despite whatever engine you choose and the model designation you choose, they all came with the same 6-speed automatic transmission. This car is 40 pounds heavier than the Crown Vic, despite being 10 inches shorter and 4 inches more narrow than the Vic. The MSRP on this car when it was new, $30,170. Inside the Caprice, it's actually much nicer than what you would expect a police car to be. There's the full center console, carpeting down below, 6-speed. There's a sports shift mode, climate control with dual zone, infotainment, which is mostly deactivated for police duty, gauges, switches on the steering wheel. Still, you get plastic on the dash that's easy to clean, easy to care for. Very few things that are soft touch on the car. All right, enough of that. Let's start her up and go for a drive. All right, driving the 2011 Chevy Caprice PPV. First impressions, it's really a nice car. It's modern, it feels new, it looks contemporary. The seats are firm, just like you would expect any modern car to be. The bucket seats feel good, they're supportive. There's lots of adjustment, it's a power seat. The dash looks attractive, the center console, infotainment. I mean, there's a lot going on here. You have all the switches on the steering wheel as well for your radio and infotainment and message display on the dash. Right away though, you feel the power. 355 horsepower and a 6-speed transmission. And the transmission is so important because it gives you that extra multiplication at takeoff with the lower first and second gears. You're always in the power band with the 6-speed transmission. It's never lagging, it's never low on power. It's actually more than you need. Accelerates easily, effortlessly. It's a solid car, it's quiet, it's smooth, extremely smooth. It's a really nice driving car. The steering is nicely weighted, not too heavy, not too soft. The ride is very firm, very stiff. It's jarring. In fact, I drove this car through the Lincoln Tunnel a while ago, and part of the road on the Lincoln Tunnel was a washboard, and literally my eyes were bouncing around in my head. You read about noise, harshness, and vibration, and it's muted inside. It's very quiet. No weird vibrations, no noises. Brake pedal is very firm. It takes a little bit of pressure, a little bit of time to get used to that. But it stops straight and hard and fast. Speed is limitless in this car. Where other cars feel like you really have to push it to get going faster and faster on the highway, this 70, 80, 90 is just effortless. So you don't even realize how fast you're going. It happens so quickly and so easily. Handling is good. Now, I find that I tend to oversteer a little bit in this car, and I think that's just from driving the Crown Vic so much. So it takes a little bit of getting used to. It's not difficult in any way. It's just a different style of driving. I feel like I'm close to the windshield. Like my arms are fully extended, and I can still touch the windshield pretty easily. A-pillar is literally just a few inches from my head, which is odd. I'm not used to that with the Crown Vic. So you definitely feel the little more spaciousness in the Vic than you do in this car. There's an Achilles heel though with this car, and it has to do with this A-pillar and the location of the mirror and how much space that takes and how close you are to that A-pillar. And believe it or not, it takes up so much, it creates such a blind spot right there that it seems routine that I find these cars with smashed up front ends, car crashes, and a small little accident in these cars creates a big headache. Now, fenders, for instance, $430. Headlights, $1,500. $850 for a hood. You have to paint it, and all of a sudden you're at $3,500 just in parts, and a few hundred more for labor, and all of a sudden you're at 80% of the value of the car, and it gets totaled. The other part of this is the engine. The part that makes this car so special, that 355 horsepower, which gives you a 0 to 60 in a 5-second range, also has the Achilles heel of having a displacement on demand. Active fuel management. Chevy called it by both names. And quite simply, it takes the 8-cylinder engine, it deactivates 4 of the cylinders, shuts off the fuel to 4 of those cylinders, has special lifters that deactivate the valves in 4 of those cylinders, and you run in full 4-cylinder mode. The problem is the system fouls up and the lifters get stuck and the lifters start eating up cams. And then you have to go in there and replace the cam and lifters, which involves removing the heads as well. That simple issue of displacement on demand results in a $4,500 repair bill. And it's one of the first things you need to look at if you're interested in buying one of these cars. Price-wise, I see these cars, when they hit around 100,000 miles, the price plummets on these things. A 9C1 model with over 100,000 miles, I see them in the $5,000 to $6,000 range. Now that's for 2011. Now the newer cars, all the way up to 2017, obviously it's going to cost a lot more money. And remember, the 9C1 versus the 9C3 matters too. There's a lot more interest and a lot more demand in a 9C3 simply because it's more plush. In comparison, 2017 with low miles, still under factory warranty, I'm seeing it in the teens, mid-teens, upper teens sometime. And they're out there. You can find them. They're easy to get to. So despite the displacement on demand issues and the cost of replacement body parts for this Caprice, this car is a sheer delight to drive. Wonderful driving experience, easy car to live with every day also. So enough with the Caprice, let's go get the Vic, and I got some interesting points I want to share with you about it. Alright, driving the Crown Vic. First thing I notice when I get in, the seats. They're flat and wide. There's no bolstering, no support. But I think it's also something that makes this car very easy to get into and out of. It's more spacious. Even with my hands extended, I can't touch the windshield. The shifter is on the column, which is just an old way of doing things. And I think it's also something I enjoy so much about this car is that it's a throwback. It's an older way of doing things. It reminds me of my vintage cars, the Greenbrier, for instance, where 3 wrenches and a screwdriver, I can do 90% of any repair I need to make. I feel the same way with this Vic. And another thing you notice right away, as soon as you step on the gas, it's the power. It's adequate. It's 250 horsepower. The rear gear ratio is a 327 in this car. It gets the car moving, but it's certainly not 355 horsepower. And that's one of the downfalls with this car. It's 105 horsepower less than the Caprice. It has a 4-speed transmission, which really is a 3-speed with overdrive. Between shifts, you have to wait for the RPMs to catch up. You're always kind of waiting. The ride is something I really like about this car. I think it's a really nice combination of handling and comfort. I like the size of it. I can only imagine with all the police gear and the equipment in this thing, how cramped these cars can get. And when you're talking something smaller like a Caprice, well, it really matters. It really makes a difference. Gas mileage, I drive this car the same route that I drive the Caprice. And they both have 19-gallon gas tanks, and I get the same amount of miles per tank between the two cars, which is surprising given a 100 horsepower difference. For insurance on this car, and look, you can't compare my insurance rates to yours. There's so many factors that go into it. But I pay $525 a year for this car for insurance. For the Caprice, $20 more per year. Now, the difference with the Caprice, however, is when I keyed it into Geico on their online system, they didn't have a Caprice as an option. So I had to call customer service. They had to add it manually. It didn't change the price. So really, between the two cars, I'm paying the same insurance practically. But the Caprice gives you a whole lot more car for the money. So there you have it. 2 cop cars, same purpose, but 2 different ways of going about it. So which is the better car? Well, I'm going to leave that up to you to decide. I want to hear from you. Is it the Caprice that's newer, faster, more modern, has all the amenities, but is more expensive to buy, more expensive to repair when broken, and of course has that DOD issue? Or is it the Vic that's inexpensive to buy, easy to fix, easy to repair, is tried and true, durable and reliable, but is just simply outclassed by horsepower in today's world? So leave me a comment below. I'd be curious to hear what you think. Also, I hope you liked this video. I hope you enjoyed the comparison. I hope you thought it was fun. And as always, thanks so much for watching.